Beneath the quiet ticking of time, there is a rhythm unseen by the eye, one not measured by clocks, but by the way we live, breathe, remember, and choose. Life after 70 is not the fading of a candle, but the steady glow of a fire refined. Each step, each breath, each memory etched into the soul carries with it the weight of eternity disguised in the ordinary. Science may point to signs, habits, patterns, subtle truths written into the body, but wisdom whispers something deeper. That longevity is not merely survival, but alignment with purpose, peace, and the quiet courage to remain open to life's unfolding mystery. In this sacred chapter, your choices echo louder, your thoughts carve deeper paths, and your presence holds generational weight. As we uncover these signs, let us remember, the number of years matters less than the depth with which they are lived. For in this stillness, life is not ending. It is arriving. There comes a time in life when the ticking clock no longer dictates your sense of urgency, when your days are measured not in minutes, but in meaning. And often, it's not until the body begins to whisper or shout that we are reminded of what truly sustains us, not the medicine, not the treadmill, not the perfect blood pressure, but relationship. You see, the soul was never designed to thrive in isolation. From the very beginning, you were formed with connection in mind. Every breath, every heartbeat, every blink was meant to echo within a rhythm shared. But we've been trained to see strength as independence, haven't we? We've been taught that being self-sufficient is being safe, that silence is serenity, that needing others is weakness. And yet, how many of the longest living people in the world are surrounded not by silence, but by stories, laughter, tears shared in the warmth of presence? Science may label it social engagement or positive interpersonal stimuli, but the spirit knows better. It knows that there is something sacred in being seen, something healing in being heard, something life-lengthening in love that costs nothing but your time. And it is no coincidence that hearts break faster when they are lonely. It's not metaphor, it's mechanism. The body follows the soul. Where the spirit is heavy, the flesh falters. Where the heart is empty, the immune system weakens. Isolation is not just unpleasant, it is terminal. So ask yourself, not as a rhetorical exercise, but as a mirror for the soul, who really knows you? Not your schedule, not your achievements, not the polished answers you give at family gatherings, but the real you, the tender you, the struggling, complicated, glorious you, because longevity has a language, and its grammar is built on vulnerability. You may eat kale, you may take your morning walks, but if your soul is starving for connection, no vitamin will save you, no treadmill will carry you far enough. Because the real medicine, the kind that keeps the eyes bright and the lungs steady, comes from communion with people, with purpose, with something beyond the visible. And this isn't just about avoiding loneliness. This is about stepping into the divine rhythm you were made for. Relationships aren't hobbies, they are holy. Every true connection is a thread in the tapestry of eternity. When two lives touch, something eternal is stitched between them, and that thread outlasts memory, outlasts time, outlasts even death. Perhaps you've spent decades building a life, brick by brick, responsibility after responsibility. But I ask you now, what rooms have you left empty? What conversations have you avoided? Who have you refused to forgive, not realizing that the grudge is growing heavier than your years? Your health is not just in your hands. It is in theirs, in the hand you won't hold. in the apology you haven't made, in the forgiveness you've withheld. Life is extended not just through diet or exercise, but through reconciliation, through intimacy, through the kind of quiet understanding that happens in a room with no performance, only presence. And here's the part most don't want to admit. It's not too late. Not for you. Not for the ones you think are too far gone. Even now, heaven leans in when one heart turns toward another. Even now, eternity stretches to touch earth when you choose connection over convenience, compassion over comfort. So reach out. Call them. Visit them. Sit with them in silence if that's all you have, because silence shared is louder than words forgotten. And that moment of presence, that sacred pause where hearts touch, may do more to heal your body than any treatment ever could. You were never meant to outlive your love. And as long as there is breath in your body, there is still time to return, to rebuild, to be known, and to know. That is the true measure of life. Not how long you live, but how deeply you're connected in the living. Let that truth settle into your bones. Because in the end, the strongest heartbeat is not the one that lasts the longest, but the one that echoes in the hearts of others when yours has gone still. There is a quiet deception that slips into the mind as we grow older, the notion that slowing down means fading away, that less motion means less meaning, that if we're not walking as far, our impact must also be shrinking. But that is a lie of the natural world, a distraction crafted to blur the eternal truth, that wisdom doesn't retreat with the body, it expands in stillness. You are not less because you move less. You are more distilled, more potent, more essential. Just as the river does not lose its power when it becomes deep and slow, neither do you. In fact, it is in the slowing that the sediment settles, the waters clear, and the depths become visible. So don't confuse quiet with irrelevance. Don't mistake rest for resignation. Sometimes the most powerful move is the one taken within. There comes a moment in every journey where the external steps give way to internal strides. You begin to walk inward, not away from the world, but deeper into it. With each passing year, the call grows stronger, not toward disappearance, but toward divine alignment. You're being drawn inward to steward the invisible, to govern realms not touched by feet, but by faith. And this, beloved, is where the real work begins. You see, there is a season where God hides His power in pace, where He slows your rhythm not to hinder you, but to hone you. Like a sculptor removing the chisel to polish the masterpiece, and while the world honors the ones who run, heaven honors the ones who remain, who sit still long enough to hear the whisper that shakes foundations, the whisper that says, "Your walk is not over, it's just becoming eternal." Let that settle in you. Let it reframe the way you see your days. You are not being set aside. You are being set apart. The steps you take now are measured in presence, not in miles. They carry weight because they carry revelation. They don't move the ground beneath you. They move the heavens above you. And that is no small thing. You are now the keeper of presence, the custodian of silence that speaks, the anchor in a drifting world. And even if your legs falter, your voice carries a power trained by fire, by time, by testing. Speak it. Declare it. Let it rise from the depths of your soul, because someone around you is watching and waiting and wondering if there is still meaning after movement slows. And the answer is yes. Yes, there is still purpose. Yes, there is still fruit. Yes, There is still power in your presence. Don't underestimate the ministry of stillness. In a world addicted to speed, your pace is prophetic. It is a declaration that rest is not retreat, that depth is not dormancy, that the eternal doesn't race, it reigns. Even Scripture tells us, even to your old age and gray hairs I am He. I am He who will sustain you. Isaiah 46:4. There is a sustaining presence that covers you now, not to hold you back, but to carry you forward in a different dimension. You're not walking in the flesh anymore. You're walking in wisdom, in insight, in spiritual authority. So open your eyes and look again. This stage of your life isn't a sunset. It's a sunrise on a higher mountain. The air is thinner here, yes, but it's also purer. And what you see from this height cannot be seen from the valley below. You have earned this vision. You have been entrusted with it, and with it comes a responsibility to bless, to teach, to pour out what has been poured into you. You are the elder by fire, the sage by grace. Don't let your quiet fool you. You are louder now in the Spirit than ever before. Your very presence rebukes despair. Your very stillness speaks volumes. And so, if the world says you are walking less, smile gently and say, yes, but I am seeing more. I am speaking deeper. I am walking with the one whose path is eternal. Because the journey hasn't stopped. It has simply shifted from the ground beneath your feet to the legacy behind your steps. And now, with every breath, you are not just living longer, you are living truer. So walk on, not by sight, but by spirit. For the truest steps are the ones that echo beyond time. There is a sacred truth few are willing to confront. Comfort is not always a blessing. It can be a subtle prison. And often, the very things that once sustained us can, over time, begin to restrict us. What if the decline in physical movement is not a curse, but a divine signal, a gentle unbinding from routines that no longer serve your purpose? What if walking less is not the end of vitality, but the beginning of a deeper kind of strength? You see, as the years gather, the soul begins to call louder than the body. The pace changes. The rhythm of life no longer follows the frantic tempo of youth, but begins to align with eternity's metronome. It's here, in the quieting of movement, that the heavens often speak the loudest, not in thunder, but in whispers, not in crowds, but in solitude. This is where you begin to see what cannot be seen while running. This is where you are reintroduced to the unseen world that never stopped moving, even when your steps began to slow. Sometimes the limitation of motion is an invitation to master the motion of the heart, to move in dimensions unseen, to train the spirit in disciplines that the world has forgotten. Watchfulness, discernment, deep listening. This is not stagnation. This is transformation. When your feet grow weary, your faith must grow bold. When your knees cannot carry you far, your words must carry others. When your body stills, your spirit awakens. Remember, Abraham walked far, but Moses stood still at the sea, and both saw miracles. Elijah ran from Jezebel, but later, in the silence of a cave, he heard the whisper of God. So don't despise the shift in your mobility. Heaven has always had a habit of using the immobile to shake nations. Paul wrote epistles from a prison cell. John received revelation while exiled. They moved more in confinement than many do in freedom. There is a mystery here, a holy paradox, that what appears as limitation is often preservation. What looks like a closed door may actually be a covered passage, and what feels like loss might be the shedding of distractions so the divine voice can rise to the surface. The slowing down of the outer world is God's invitation to rise in the inner one. Some of you have been praying, Lord, why can't I go where I used to go? Why don't I feel as strong? And heaven has been responding, not with more energy, but with more clarity. Because this leg of the journey does not require stronger legs, it requires stronger vision. You are being prepared to lead, not by example of endurance, but by example of enlightenment. You are being called to show others how to carry light when the lamp of youth has dimmed. That's a deeper kind of leadership. That's a rarer kind of grace. And isn't that what we were always meant to become? Not just people who move well, but people who live wisely. Not just bodies in motion, but souls in harmony with eternity. So embrace this new walk. Even if it's slower, it's sacred. Even if it's shorter, it's sharper. The steps you take now echo in the lives of those watching. Children, grandchildren, neighbors, even strangers. They look to you not for speed, but for direction. They seek the map hidden in your eyes, the courage carved in your wrinkles, the testimony told by your posture. And if you feel unseen, remember this: heaven sees every step, every breath, every yes whispered in secret. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are being repositioned to pour wisdom into a thirsty world. This is your season of prophetic stillness. You're not just walking. You're weaving threads of meaning through generations. You are anchoring legacies. You are standing at the gates of eternity and reminding us all what truly matters. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, and take the next step, not as one retreating, but as one advancing into revelation. Because even when your pace changes, your purpose deepens. And in the end, the steps that carry the greatest weight are often the ones taken with the fewest witnesses, under the clearest skies, on the holiest ground. There comes a time in every life where comfort begins to feel like confinement, where the routines you once cherished begin to feel like chains. You rise, you eat, you sit, you lie down, yet the soul starts whispering, there's more. Not necessarily more to do, but more to become. And that whisper is not your imagination. It is the sound of divine urgency, calling you out of passive survival into active surrender. It's not shouting for noise, it's pulling you into clarity. Some call it restlessness, others call it aging. But I tell you, it's neither. It's revelation. Heaven's invitation doesn't always arrive with thunder and flashing fire. Sometimes it comes with the quiet ache in your bones that won't go away, the sigh you release before sleep, the silence between two heartbeats that asks, what now? You were not born merely to reach old age. You were born to reveal something in old age, something the younger cannot carry yet, something that only years, wounds, and wisdom could cultivate. And yet, how many ignore the call to their deeper becoming simply because they've mistaken stillness for irrelevance? But let me say this clearly: stillness is not insignificance. In the economy of heaven, stillness is often a throne from which the most powerful decrees are released. The world may overlook you, but the Spirit never does. The world may prize speed, but eternity honors substance. And what's growing in you now, though hidden, is weighty, sacred, prophetic. The fourth thing I want to tell you is this: you must learn to feed the fire within when the flames around you grow cold. It's easy to burn brightly when others are clapping, when the room is full, when energy is high. But can you tend the flame when no one sees you? Can you stir the embers in the silence when even those closest to you do not understand the fire you carry? This is the call of the mature soul, not to wait for outward permission, but to burn from within. Like the priest in the temple who was commanded to keep the altar flame alive through the night, your task is not to entertain, but to illuminate. Not to prove your worth, but to preserve the fire that speaks of God's ongoing presence. There will be days when loneliness presses against your ribs like a cold hand. There will be mornings when getting up feels like standing against the wind. But even in that, you are not abandoned. You are being refined. And what he refines, he uses. Ask Abraham. Ask Sarah. Ask Anna the prophetess, who fasted and prayed in the temple into old age, waiting for the promise. She saw the Messiah not because she was in motion, but because she was in position. She wasn't running across nations. She was rooted in devotion. And in her stillness, she saw what generations longed for. So don't despise your waiting. Don't curse your still moments. That flame within, when guarded, will become the torch for others who are lost in the dark. Now let me speak to the deepest part of you, the part the mirrors don't reflect, the part untouched by time. You are still called, still chosen, still full of purpose. If breath remains in your lungs, it means the assignment has not ended. It has simply shifted. And your flame, though different in intensity, burns with holy intent. Do not feed it with nostalgia. Do not try to resurrect seasons that have passed. Instead, feed it with Scripture. Feed it with prayer. Feed it with gratitude, reflection, and radical obedience. Let your life become an altar, and your every word a fragrant offering. When others are quitting, let your quiet endurance thunder in the spirit realm. When others dim their light, let yours pierce the shadows. You were never meant to live off borrowed fire. And you don't need applause to stay lit. You only need alignment with heaven, with truth, with the one who ignited you in the beginning and has not walked away in the middle. You have come too far to flicker out now. Too many are watching, listening, leaning in, not to your noise, but to your fire. And they are desperate for the warmth it carries, the hope it imparts, the truth it confirms. So guard it well. Feed it daily, and when the night feels long, let it remind you, you were never the source, only the steward, because the fire in you was lit by eternity, and its light, if kept pure, will outlast time itself. There is a quiet temptation that comes not in youth, but in age, the temptation to retreat into resignation, to allow the rhythm of life to dull into mere routine, to believe that the most meaningful chapters have already been written. It is a lie cloaked in comfort, a deception dressed as dignity. But make no mistake, this temptation is not passive. It is a thief. It robs legacy. It silences testimony. It convinces warriors to lay down their swords while the battle still rages in the spirit. But hear this, as long as you are breathing, the pen has not left the hand of the author. You are not at the end of your calling. You are in the deep of it. What is unfolding now is not a fading glory, but a refining fire. The fifth truth I speak to your spirit is this: you must move from maintenance to mission. This is not a season to simply preserve what's left. It is a season to pour out what's been planted. There is a difference between living carefully and living intentionally. Many spend their later years building fences around what they've gathered, protecting reputation, guarding resources, counting steps instead of taking them. But the kingdom of heaven is not advanced by caution. It is birthed through courage, and courage does not retire. It does not shrink back. It speaks louder when the world gets quieter. This shift from maintenance to mission is not about doing more, but becoming more. It's not about hustle. It's about alignment. The Lord doesn't call you to strive. He calls you to release, to surrender the illusion of control and step into divine flow. And that flow might look like starting something new when others expect you to slow down. It might look like mentoring a generation that doesn't speak your language but desperately needs your wisdom. It might mean letting go of what's safe to embrace what's sacred. Remember Moses. His calling did not begin in youth. It was awakened in the wilderness after years of obscurity. He thought he was finished, but heaven had just begun. And when the call came through the burning bush, it didn't apologize for his age. It didn't cater to his fears. It simply said, go. So I ask you, what burning bush is trying to get your attention? What mission are you still called to fulfill, though your bones may ache and your circle may be smaller? Do not measure your capacity by your energy. Measure it by your obedience. Power follows surrender. You may say, but I've done my part. And yet, there are lives on the other side of your yes. There are stories yet to be told because your voice has not yet spoken them. There are burdens someone is carrying right now that only your testimony can break. You are not just a senior. You are a steward of revelation. You are not just seasoned. You are saturated with insight that time cannot teach and the young cannot fake. If you do not speak, generations will stumble in silence. If you do not act, movements will never mature. And if you do not move from maintenance to mission, the treasure within you will be buried beneath the soil of convenience rather than planted in the field of purpose. You are still the answer to someone's prayer. You are still the evidence of someone's hope. You are still the echo of someone's faith. So write the book. Start the prayer group. Teach the scripture. Call the estranged son. Bless the broken neighbor. Lay hands on the sick. Pour oil the dry places. Let the Spirit use every wrinkle, every scar, every silence you've endured, for these are the markings of a vessel that's been through fire and still holds the flame. This is the hour to pour it all out, not to impress, not to prove, but to complete the assignment heaven whispered to you before you were formed in the womb. And when your breath does finally leave your body, may the ground tremble under the weight of your obedience, because you didn't spend your last days preserving a monument. You spent them releasing a movement.